Alright, what's up everybody? So today I actually have this BMW XM that costs $140,000, but it does cause some controversy. So today I'm going to explain why. Alright, so before we get started with today's video, I'd like to let you guys know that, hey, follow my Instagram, give this video a like, share it, subscribe, all that good stuff, because you don't want to miss out. While I'll be posting on Instagram, I've started getting more active on there, so there is that. So give me a follow, give this video a like, share, and subscribe. There you go, and back to the video. All right, so let's talk about the main thing about this car. Why it's so controversial? That's pretty obvious. It's the design. Now the design is kind of mixed. I actually don't mind the look in the front though. The front, I don't mind it. You know, very BMW. Don't mind it at all. But I think what people don't like is the rear quarter window and the big hump and the way it looks in the back. I don't think people like that because it looks weird. It's different though, right? As you can see by other performance SUVs like the Lamborghini Urus, Audi RS Q8, Porsche Cayenne Turbo, and the Coupe as well with that one. They look fine, right? But I don't think people like this because it looks weird. Because you got the little hump and the little sides and all that type of stuff. The back don't look right. All this type of stuff, right? But like I said, I don't mind it. I don't think it's bad, but it is quite weird, right? But like I said, I don't mind it. I think it's fine. But I understand why people don't like it. But at the same time, it's different because I think this is for the people that want to be different, that want to flex on people. Because, you know, you got your Lamborghini Urus, you got your Audi RS Q8, Porsche Cayenne Turbo, the Coupe as well. They all look pretty much similar to each other, right? Which is fine. The design of those are fine. But this, if you want to stand out, you will get this one because it looks different, right? Not saying the design of this is bad, but it's quite different from everybody else's. So that is my thoughts on this car. It's different. It's not bad, but it's not good either, right? So I'll give this design a 7.5, right? As a whole, right? Exterior wise, 7.5, because this car, it's nice, right? It's cool, but the way it looks is fine, but it's just different. I'll say that. So alright, so another thing I forgot to talk about are the wheels. Now these wheels are actually quite unique now, because as you can see, there's no BMW logo on them. Only the BMW name, which is quite interesting. That's quite new, right? Really, because the BMW name on the wheel, there's not the BMW logo on the wheel in the center caps. You're just the name, which is quite interesting. Never really seen that before from them, but it's quite nice. Alright, so the first thing we're going to talk about is the interior. Now, I want to talk about some of the features, cool features that this car has. Well, this many BMW has, but this is the first one. This car has gesture control. Now, you see my M8 video, it basically has that as well. Basically, you could, instead of using the volume knob to, turn up the volume, you could use this. You could just move your finger like this to turn up and down the volume. As you can see here, I'm just moving my finger around the screen, near the screen, and it would turn up and down the volume, which I actually do like. Instead of, you driving, right, and you're not confused, well, not confused, but distracted, you try to find the volume knob, you can just move your finger left or right, or matter of fact, counterclockwise or clockwise to turn up and down the volume, which is actually pretty neat. You're not being distracted by it. It's a kind of a gimmick, but it's a nice gimmick because you're not distracted. You can just turn your volume up and down just by doing this or this, which is actually pretty cool. Alright, so another thing I actually want to talk about with the gesture control is this. You can actually use your thumb to skip a track or a radio station that to your choosing. So instead of going to your screen, clicking like this, or this, you just use your thumb to do this or this. As you can see here, you can just use your thumb just to move your just move your thumb left or right to skip a track or go forward or back. It's actually very cool. I actually do like it because you're not, like I said, just same thing for the volume knob. You're not distracted by just trying to find the volume knob or whatever, right? You could just do this or this just to skip or go forward, or go back a track, right? Which is pretty neat. Like I said, you're not distracted by it. Yes, it is a gimmick. People might still use the volume knob or go to the screen to skip a button or use the steering wheel to skip the track, but it is a nice feature to have so you're not distracted while you're driving, which, like I said, it's a good feature. Alright, so another thing I want to talk about is the gauges. Now the gauges, to change the gauges, all you gotta do is just click this button on the steering wheel. You can change it for different things. You can just show what you want to show, what you want to see really, which is, you know, your maps, radio, performance gauges, whatever you want to see. You just to change the gauge views, all you gotta do is just click this button on the steering wheel, and it will just show what you want to show or what you really want to see, all that type of stuff. You can also do it for the heads-up display as well. You can do it for the gauge cluster and the heads-up display, just to show what you want to see, whether it's in the gauge cluster or in the heads-up display, which is pretty neat. Just a button on the steering wheel to controls two functions. Alright, another thing I want to talk about in this interior is the touchscreen. Now this is actually a 14-inch touchscreen, and as you can see, it's actually very intuitive, very nice. I know it's in other BMW models like this XM. I know it's in the new 3 Series and other BMWs, like I said. But this touchscreen is actually very intuitive, very nice. You got multiple things that you could, you know, add or move around to your liking, which I actually do appreciate. But another thing I actually don't like about this infotainment is this little one thing, is that if you try to go into one thing, like let's say navigation, other shortcuts doesn't really show up. Like as you can see on the side, doesn't show like home, radio, phone, and all that. It just goes straight into one app. Like if you're on navigation, it just shows that. It doesn't show other pre-shortcut buttons to get into, to, you know, exit out of, like to go quickly into it. Instead, you have to go into, you know, your center controls on the gear shifter to go there, which, you know, it's not bad, but I wish they would have that on the screen instead of down here, which, you know, down here is fine. I'm not complaining about the pre-shortcut being down here, but what I'm complaining about is that you had to do it down here instead of on the screen, which, like I said, down here is fine, but I wish it was up here as well. You know, just to, you know, do a little quick little 1, 2, 3 instead of looking down to know what you want, because that's just very distracting. That's taking your eyes off the road. It should just be on the screen instead of just one little shortcut on the center controls instead of, you know, if you want to do it on the center controls, that is fine, but at least do it on the screen as well. Have a shortcut on the screen as well, so you're not distracted by the one down here. Alright, another thing I want to talk about is your pre-select configurable drive modes. Now, as you can see on the steering wheel, you got two red buttons marked M1 and M2. Now, M1 and M2, like I said, your pre-select configurable drive modes that you configure yourself, right? So let's say M1 is your daily driver, right? You want to be the most comfortable settings, you know, just cruise around town and all that, right? Perfect. You can just click M1 and boom, you're in your most comfortable settings ever. For M2 though, you could be your most track focused, you know, settings ever. You know, everything is sport plus and all that, which is actually pretty cool. You got two pre-select configurable drive modes to your liking. You know, M1 could be for, you know, on the road, just driving around cruising. M2 could be for the track, which I actually do like. You got two configurable drive modes on the steering wheel right at your fingertips, so you're not figuring out, well, where do you know, adjust everything. You don't have to do it each time you have to get in the car. Oh, I want to do comfortable. Now I would do, you know, have everything in my most sporty aesthetic ever or whatever, right? So you just got two M1 and M2, two red buttons on the steering wheel marked M1 and M2 for your pre-select configurable drive modes that you do it yourself. Okay. Alright, another thing I just want to talk about is the M drive modes. Now, the M drive modes are just like your pre-select drive modes for M1 and M2, but this is to configure it and set it in place. Now, as you can see, you can change a lot of stuff like your drivetrain, engine speed, exhaust note, all that, your steering wheel, suspension, all that. You can also change the hybrid system, because this car is a hybrid after all. But like I said, you can change everything else and all the other stuff. But another cool thing you could do, and I really haven't seen this at all in other cars. I always see it in BMWs. But in BMW, you can change how much the all-wheel drive system power goes to or whatever, right? So as you can see, to turn it on, right, all you gotta do is just push this little button down right here marked ESC, right? Push the button, hold on to it until a screen pops up, and then you just click off, right? And then you can configure, your X drive modes, right? Because this is an all-wheel drive car, so there is that. So you could configure it, okay? I can get the words out. You can configure it from four-wheel drive to four-wheel drive sport to four-wheel drive sand. I believe that's what it means. But yeah, as you can see, you can configure it to four-wheel drive sport, and four-wheel drive sand by just holding down this button marked ESC or something like that, and you can configure your all-wheel drive system, which that's pretty cool. I have not seen that at all. I always see it in only BMWs. Now, speaking of hybrids, what is powering this car? Well, it's actually a familiar engine, which is kind of disappointing, but it's a 4.4 liter twin turbo V8 making 644 horsepower with an electric motor, which is actually pretty impressive. Now, this is actually making this the most powerful M car ever. Now, the reason I say the engine is kind of disappointing is because the engine itself is not disappointing, but the fact that they put it in this car is kind of disappointing. But I know other cars use pretty much the same engine as other brands and all that. This is actually a V8. Like I said, this is actually a good engine. I do like it, but for being such a high price, now this does start around like $160,000. I know this particular one starts around $140,000. But yeah, I wish they would at least put a V12 in this, because this car weighs almost 6,000 pounds, or at 6,000 pounds, which is extremely heavy for such a car, right? I know like the Lamborghini Urus weighs like at least 5,000 something pounds. That also has a V8. I know the Audi RSQ8, Porsche Cayenne also use like the same V8, but they weigh less than this and much faster than this, right? But I wish they would at least put a V12 in this, because given the price point, it starts at like $160,000, which will probably justify this. But like, just putting the same V8 in this car, which kind of sucks with a hybrid system. It's like, come on now, like, I get it, V8s and V12. Matter of fact, V12s are going away, V8s as well. But I wish they would have put a V12 in this, because it would justify the price more than putting a V8 in it and stand out more. Because the other competition, like I mentioned, the Lamborghini, the Audi, the Porsche, and some others only use a V8. If this would have V12, it will probably stand out more or whatever. But there is another version called the Label Red, which is actually coming out like I think next year or later on this year, with around like 755 horsepower or something like that, which is pretty insane. It'll probably justify the price and all that, and get this thing moving much quicker than this. But like I said, I wish they would have put a V12 in this. It would have been at least much better than just a similar V8 that we all know, which I actually like the V8. I'm not, knocking that they put a V8 in this. I wish they would have put a little more effort into the engine than, just stuffing a V8 with a hybrid system in it, which, it is what it is. Alright, so that's actually it for today's video. Hope you guys do enjoy it. If you did, give it a like, subscribe, share with your friends as you will. Yeah, I'll be posting Mondays and Fridays, so stay tuned for those.